2 seconds. That is how long it takes for Chapter 5 to flip the whole story on its head. Huggy is back, the prototype finally shows up in full, and the ending drops a new backup that could change everything. But first, only a small percentage of those watching are subscribed. Liking and subscribing is free, and you can change your mind anytime. The biggest secret is not the spider body, not the tea party, and not even the poppy gel. It is what Chapter 5 quietly proves about how the prototype controls this factory and why he chose to take Poppy instead of killing her. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So today, we are doing a full deep dive on Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. Every secret, every hidden clue, every "wait, did you notice that?" moment. We are going to walk through the chapter in order, because Chapter 5 is built like a chain. If you miss one link, the ending feels random. But if you catch the pattern, it all starts to make sense. And I am not just talking about the big scenes, I mean the small stuff too. The weird voice lines in the dark, the little star tool that feels cute on purpose. The way Huggy reacts to certain images like he is being pulled by something he cannot explain. The way Lily acts like a kid playing a game, but also like a prisoner begging for approval. The way Braun is not just a cameo, but basically a giant symbol of what the factory has become. Chapter 5 is called Broken Things, and that name is not only about broken toys, it is about broken minds, broken memories, broken bodies, broken promises, and broken rules. And by the time you reach the data center, you realize something scary. You are not just trying to escape anymore. You are in the middle of a war inside the factory, and both sides might be using you. Now let's start where the chapter starts, because the opening is already a clue. The first thing Chapter 5 shows you is not gameplay. It is a commercial, the Wrong Side Outimals commercial. On the surface, it looks like classic Playtime co-marketing. Bright voice, cute words, cuddly and adorable vibes. The kind of toy line that would sit on a shelf next to anything else in a normal store. But then you notice something is off. These toys are not just silly. They are upside down in a way that feels wrong. They are wrong side out. Their insides are outside. And that is the point. The commercial is not there just for jokes. It is there to put a concept in your head before you see the real version of it. Because later, you realize the Wrong Side Outimals are not only a rejected product idea, they are a message, a threat, a punishment style, a signature. Think about it like this. Playtime Co. made toys. The prototype makes results. When he takes something, he does not just kill it, he changes it into a warning for everyone else. And Chapter 5 keeps showing that theme again and again. It is not enough for the prototype to win. He needs other toys to see what happens when you fail him. That is why, early on, you walk into areas where the wrong side creatures live. And these are not normal monsters chasing you, like Catnap or Yarnaby. These are more like hungry shadows with voices. They run at you when it is dark, and they back off when you shine light at them. And that mechanic matters, because it tells you what these things are. They are creatures that cannot stand being seen. That sounds simple, but think about what that means in the story. They move best in darkness. They hide. They swarm. They eat. They do not feel like one big boss. They feel like the leftovers of something bigger. Like the factory's basement is full of things that got tossed away, and those things learn to survive. And then you hear them talk. One line that sticks out is the one about someone from above. Another line says, there is no above. And then you hear the line about the judge and blood. That one is confusing. The first time, because you do not know what they mean by judge. But later, after you finally meet the prototype face to face, that word starts to feel less random. Because the prototype is not just a monster, he is treated like a ruler, and in some places, almost like a god. Even the way the chapter description talks about him makes him sound like a him with a capital H, like the factory is his world and everyone else is just living in it. And then the chapter slams you into the first big panic moment. Huggy is back. Chapter 4 ended with you trapped down there, with Huggy trying to break in. Chapter 5 does not waste time. He breaks through, and you run. This first chase is important for two reasons. First, It confirms something huge. Huggy survived. Whatever happened in Chapter 1 did not end him. So when people say that monster is dead, Chapter 5 is basically telling you, do not trust that. In this story, falling does not always mean dying. Being crushed does not always mean dying. Even being shut down does not always mean dying. Second, Huggy steals from you. Not just in a gameplay way, but in a story way. He takes your upgraded grab pack and the Omni Hand. That matters because those tools were your access to secure parts of the factory. Losing them is like losing your keycard and your weapon at the same time. And it forces you into a new kind of survival. You are not the one with all the tools anymore. You are back to being the person crawling through a place you do not control. Now, right after you lose the grab pack, the game drops you into a section that feels like meat storage and tight corridors. It is gross. It is cramped. It is full of the wrong side creatures. And this is where you find something that looks almost silly at first. Glowbee. Glowbee is this little star-like tool that works as a light and also a UV blacklight. And I love the way the chapter uses Glowbee because it is doing two jobs at once. Gameplay job is obvious. It helps you see. It helps you scare off the shadow creatures. It lets you find hidden writing on walls and boards. It becomes the reason you can solve codes that would otherwise look impossible. But story job is the secret. Glowbee is a symbol. In a place full of darkness, you are handed a bright little star. That is not random. That is the chapter telling you, your biggest weapon in this part of the factory is not strength. It is seeing what is hidden. Because Chapter 5 is a chapter about hidden truth, hidden memories, hidden rooms, hidden motives. And Glowbee is basically the tool that says, look closer. Now here comes your first real ally moment. Because in this dark part of the labs, you get rescued by a new character, Giblet. Giblet is one of the biggest surprises in Chapter 5, because he is not like the other new friends you meet in past chapters. He does not feel like a cute helper that is about to die 5 minutes later. He feels like someone who has been surviving down here for a long time. He brings you to his hideout, and you start to learn that the toys down here have their own social world now. They gossip, they tell stories, they name you. And that is where the nickname comes in, the Playtime Butcher. That name is important because it tells you how you look from their point of view. You are not the hero. You are not the player. You are the human who came back and started killing bigger bodies and experiments. From your view, you are surviving. From their view, you are a walking disaster that leaves bodies behind. And Giblet basically says, I think you are the moment we have been waiting for. Because he is not just helping you to be nice. He wants something. He wants to fight back. Giblet tells you there is a way to get a replacement grab pack. And he sends you to the boilers. And this is where Chapter 5 hits you with one of the most shocking, most gross, and most sad scenes in the entire game. Brawn. For years, Brawn has been teased in this series. You see Brawn posters early. You see references. You see the toy version. You hear fans begging for Brawn to show up as a real big body monster, and then in Chapter 5 you finally see him. And it is not a cool boss fight. It is a broken giant lying on the ground like a dying animal. Brawn is huge. He is stuck in the boiler room. He has metal shackles on his body, like someone chained him down. He has a massive hole torn into his side, and you can see stuffing and guts spilling out. And the wrong side creatures are eating what is falling out of him. That scene is not just for horror, it is story. Because it shows you something you do not see often in Poppy Playtime. A big body experiment that is not hunting you, but suffering. Brawn is alive because he moves. He slowly chews. His head turns to follow you when you walk. That detail matters because it kills the idea that he is just a statue. He might look stone-like in some spots, but he is not a prop. He is a living experiment that has been left down here until he became food. And then you realize why you are here. Brawn is chewing on a stripped-down grab pack, and you need to take it from him because Huggy stole yours. So you climb up Brawn's tail. And yes, the fact that you climb the tail of a chained dinosaur to steal a tool from his mouth is already a wild sentence. But the more important thing is what it means. It means the factory is so ruined that you are literally robbing scraps from a starving monster. And if you walk closer to the wrong side creatures, you hear a line that changes the meaning of the whole scene. They basically say, "When Bron eats, we all eat." The first time you hear that, you might think it is like worship, like Bron is their king, and they only eat when he allows it. But look at what is happening. They are eating his insides. They are eating whatever ends up inside him. So that line is probably literal. Bron eats something, it goes into his body, and they eat whatever pieces they can get from the whole. So Bron is not only starving, he has become the feeder for everything else trapped down here. And that is the secret message of the Bron scene. The prototype's world creates hunger, and hunger creates monsters. Even worse, Bron is so desperate that he is chewing a metal grab pack like it is food. That tells you there is nothing else. No real food, no water, no care, just survival. Now, some players ask, is this even the real Bron? I think it has to be a real living Bron big body because of the movement, the chewing, the way he reacts, and the fact that he is leaking, stuffing, and organs. But here is another secret. Chapter 5 also proves there is more than one Bron experiment in the story. We already know there was a smaller Bron experiment shown in a past tape, where a sick employee volunteered and became a small Bron toy. That Bron is not this Bron. This Bron is massive. So what does that mean? It means Bron is not one single person. Bron is a product idea that got used again and again for experiments. Different sizes, different bodies, different outcomes. And that opens a scary door, because if Playtime Co., or the prototype, could make multiple Brons, they could also do that with other toys. Maybe some dead characters are not dead. Maybe there are copies. Maybe there are versions. Now look at Bron's shackles again. Why is he chained? A simple answer is, he was dangerous. Maybe he hurt people. Maybe he killed employees. Maybe he attacked other experiments. And the only way they could stop him was to break him and chain him. But Chapter 5 also makes it feel like Bron might have been punished, not just contained, because the prototype's whole style is punishment. If you disobey, you get turned wrong side out. If you fail, you get thrown away. If you become a problem, you get chained in the dark until you rot. So Bron's state is not only big experiment went wrong, it is also this is what happens to you when you are no longer useful. And that is why the wrong side creatures are down there with him. That room feels like a dumping ground, like the bottom of the factory is where broken things go. Now you take the grab pack from Bron's mouth, and the scene ends fast. Bron does not chase you, he does not roar and start a boss fight. He just stares. And that stare is honestly scarier than a chase, because it feels like Bron is still there, still aware, still trapped, and you leave him behind. That is one of the darkest secrets of Chapter 5. You are not saving everyone. Sometimes you just take what you need and keep moving. Right after this, you also find one of the new tools that becomes a huge part of Chapter 5. The pressure hand, also called the pressurized hand. You find it in the boiler area, locked in a safe. And here is where Globy starts to show its real power. Because the code is hinted using hidden markings you can only see with UV. The chapter does this again and again. It trains you to use Globy like a detective tool, not just a flashlight. The pressure hand is simple to explain. It charges force and blasts it out. You use it to push heavy objects, break brittle surfaces, and do those big move-the-world actions you could not do with a normal hand. But again, story-wise, this tool matters, because it shows you the factory was ready for failure. It had backups. It had tools made for worst-case situations. The fact that the pressure hand is stored down there makes it feel like Playtime Co. knew this part of the factory could become locked off, flooded, or broken. So they left tools in the deep areas, like emergency equipment. And now you are using that equipment to fight the system they built. So after you get the replacement grab pack and the pressure hand, you go back toward Giblet. And then you meet another new character, Chum Chompkins. Chum is part of the Wuggy family line, or at least he looks connected. Big furry body, similar hands and feet style, same kind of "I could swallow you" threat. And when you first meet him, he does exactly that. He grabs you and tries to eat you. But Giblet stops him, and that moment matters because it shows you the good guys down here are not a clean team. They are nervous, hungry, and quick to attack. Chum is not instantly your buddy. He is suspicious. He does not trust you, but he is also not fully evil. He becomes something in between. And Chapter 5 slowly reveals that Chum is actually playing both sides. He works for the prototype, but he is also feeding information to Giblet. He is basically a spy, a mole inside the prototype's group. That is huge, because it proves the prototype does not have perfect control. Even inside his own followers, there are cracks. And now the main mission becomes clear. Giblet wants to take down the prototype, but he needs data. He needs something real, something that can be used as a weakness. So he sends you to find research notes and documents about the prototype. And this is where Chapter 5 becomes less about run from monster and more about learn the truth. Because as you move through the labs, you start finding signs that this place was not only a factory basement, it was a system. There are areas focused on conditioning, areas focused on testing memory, areas focused on making bigger bodies. And Chapter 5 makes one thing clear. The horror of Playtime Co. was not an accident. It was a plan. Now, while you are doing tasks for Giblet and trying to move deeper, Chapter 5 keeps bringing the prototype closer. You hear him. You feel tremors. You feel like something massive is moving behind walls. And at one point, when the prototype gets close, Chum does something that is both funny and terrifying. He hides you in his mouth. That moment is played like a quick hide move. But think about what it means in the story. Chum is risking his life for you. Because if the prototype caught him protecting you, that could be the end for him. And the fact that this is the method, being stuffed inside a creature's mouth, is also a reminder. Down here, survival is ugly. So you keep going, and eventually you enter one of the most important lore areas in the chapter, the conditioning section. This is where the game finally shows you more clearly what conditioning really looked like. We heard about it before. We saw hints in PlayCare. We heard voices. We saw tapes. But Chapter 5 puts you inside the machine. And here is another big new tool, the conductive hand. This is basically a hand that can take different kinds of charge. Electricity, heat, cold. And it becomes a puzzle tool that can do multiple things. It can power receivers. It can burn through certain ties or knots. It can freeze certain goo so you can break it. And that goo is one of the most important new story clues in the chapter, Poppy Gel. You start seeing Poppy Gel blocking vents and paths. You freeze it, break it, clear it. But the bigger question is, what is Poppy Gel? The chapter strongly links it to the red smoke and to the factory's deeper experiments. It is not just slime for puzzles. It is a substance that shows up in the places where the worst stuff happened. It is also the same substance the prototype uses at the end in the most shocking way possible, when he throws you into a vat of it. So when you first see Poppy Gel, it is like the chapter is quietly showing you the thing that will almost kill you later. And that is a classic horror trick. Show the weapon early, use it at the end. Now, the conditioning section is also where you get the biggest surprise about Huggy. The memory machine. To open the way to Sweet Street, you need a code. But the code is not on a wall. It is not on a note. It is hidden inside memories. So you collect memory pieces. You put them into the neural mapping machine. And then you play as Huggy. This is one of the most underrated parts of Chapter 5 because it turns Huggy from a simple chase monster into something else. When you play as Huggy inside these conditioning memories, you see that he was not just born evil. He was shaped, trained, controlled. The memories feel like twisted therapy sessions, like someone was trying to teach Huggy how to behave, how to react, how to obey. And you do tasks that feel like tests. One test is about shapes. Another test is about stopping and standing in a spotlight when music stops, like a freeze game. Another test is about breaking out, pulling plugs, tearing parts away, breaking a grate. These are not random mini-games. These are the steps of a mind-fighting programming. And each time you complete part of the memory, you get pieces of the code you need. That is why the memory machine matters. It is literally using Huggy's mind as a key. So, what is the secret here? The secret is that Huggy's mind was treated like property, like a password, like a lock. And that fits with Playtime Co.'s whole idea. They did not only change bodies, they changed brains. Now here is another secret many people miss. There is an optional door in this section that uses emotions as the code. Instead of numbers, it is like a sequence of feelings. Happy, sad, fear, disgust, stuff like that. And behind that door, you can find extra lore, including a secret tape. So, the chapter is basically telling you something really creepy. Inside this factory, emotions are part of security. That sounds insane, but it fits. Because conditioning is about emotions. Fear is a tool. Comfort is a tool. Love is a tool. And if the company learned how to control emotions, of course they would build systems around it. Now, right after you pull the code from Huggy's memories, Huggy attacks you again. And this chase is different, because this time, you have learned something about Huggy. You have been inside his mind. And you start noticing his behavior feels less like a security toy doing a job and more like a hurt creature reacting to triggers. Then the chapter does something that almost feels like a magic trick. You fall into another set of conditioning rooms, and Huggy gets distracted by projections of Kissy. Read that again. The monster that has been hunting you stops because he sees Kissy. This is huge, because it proves Huggy still has a bond, still has attachment, still has something in him that is not pure rage. And it also proves something darker. Those projections were made to control him. Why would the factory have a system that can project Kissy images in a way that affects Huggy? Because they already knew his weakness. And that is one of the biggest secrets of Chapter 5. The company did not only build monsters, they built ways to steer them. So you use those projections to slip past Huggy, open the path, and finally reach Sweet Street. And Sweet Street is where Chapter 5 goes from industrial nightmare to twisted dollhouse horror. Because Sweet Street is like a fake neighborhood built inside the labs, a street of buildings, like a kid playset turned into a prison. And right when you think you finally got a new area and a moment to breathe, you get grabbed from behind. Lily Lovebraids. This is the main new villain of Chapter 5, but she is not the final boss of the chapter in the normal way. She is more like a gatekeeper to the prototype. She drags you into her dollhouse mansion, and suddenly, the vibe changes. Now the horror is not about metal halls and machines. It is about dolls, tea parties, bedrooms, and the kind of childlike play that feels wrong because you are an adult trapped in it. Lily is energetic. She talks like a kid. She laughs. She calls you a toy. She acts like she is throwing the best party ever. But under that, you can feel something else. Desperation. Lily wants approval. And if you learn her backstory, it becomes even darker. Because Lily was not always Lily. She was Gracie Green, a human counselor involved in the wellness and integration side of the factory's orphan system, the same kind of system that brainwashed kids and turned them into experiments. And then, during the hour of joy, Gracie was taken, turned, conditioned, the same way she conditioned others. This is one of the most brutal story twists in the whole game. The brainwasher got brainwashed. The person who helped break kids became a broken toy herself. And the prototype did not just turn her into a monster and let her live with the others. He isolated her, locked her in her own dollhouse, gave her barely enough food and water, left her alone for years. That is why Lily is so unstable. That is why she acts like a kid who never grew up. Because she basically did not have a normal life anymore. She had a cage with toys and silence. And she split in her mind. Part of her became Lily. Another part became this imaginary friend voice that she speaks through a broken candy cat head. That candy head is always with her. She whispers to it, she argues with it, She uses it like a puppet. And here is a creepy secret. When Lily speaks through Candy, it often sounds like her sweet side. When she speaks as herself, it often sounds like her more aggressive side, like she made a friend out of her own split mind. And now she wants you at her tea party, not because she likes you, but because she wants to impress someone else, the special guest, the prototype. So Lily gives you tasks. Go here, bring this, find guests, set up the party. And at first it feels like typical fetch quest stuff, but the secrets are hiding inside it. Because while you are doing these tasks, you can snoop. You go into her bedroom, you open her bed, and you find something that is honestly one of the creepiest discoveries in the chapter. A skeleton, and it has an ID tag. It is Gracie's original body, the body she used to be in before she became Lily. Now stop and think about what that means. Her human remains are still there, in her own room, like she kept it. Like she did not fully let go, like some part of her still knows. And when Lily later comes into that room, she talks to the skeleton like it is still a person. She tells it to go back to sleep. She says nobody is going to hurt it anymore. That moment is heartbreaking in a weird way, because it shows Lily is not just evil. She is broken. She is living next to her own death like it is normal. And this is also where you find the key you need to free Poppy and Kissy. Because yes, Poppy is here. Kissy is here too, both trapped in Lily's basement cell. And this is the moment where Chapter 5 finally makes Poppy face what she did at the end of Chapter 4. She abandoned you, she left you behind, and now you find her trapped, apologizing, asking you to help. So you go back and forth. You hide when Lily comes. You use the conductive hand in the basement. You freeze Poppy Gel blocking a vent. You burn through ties. You unlock the cell. And you free them. But you do not get to leave, because Lily catches you again. And this is where the horror becomes a game. Lily offers you a challenge. She hums a song, and while she hums, you can move. When she stops, you must stop. It is basically red light, green light, but in a haunted dollhouse with a monster that can grab you with living hair. And Globy comes back into play, because you follow a purple trail, and Lily's hair glows in the dark. Her eyes and teeth glow too. She is basically designed to be seen in darkness like a nightmare doll. And the humming speeds up as you go. Less time to move, more pressure, more panic. This whole sequence feels like a twisted version of the conditioning you saw earlier, like the factory taught toys to obey signals. And now Lily is forcing you to obey her signals too. And then, after you reach the attic and reunite again, Lily grabs you again and ties you up with her hair around the tea party table. And now, the big moment is coming, because Lily is finally getting what she wants. The special guest arrives, and this is where Chapter 5 hits its biggest climax. You meet the prototype face to face. Not just an arm, not just a hand reaching out from shadows, not just a silhouette. You see him. And the first thing you notice is how wrong he looks. Like a pile of parts made into a shape that should not exist. Mechanical pieces mixed with organic parts. A body that does not feel like one creature, but like a collection. And that matches what we have known since Chapter 2. The prototype collects bodies. He takes pieces. He adds them to himself. He builds. And now he is in front of you like the final proof. He is real. He is the puppet master. And the tea party scene is not just cool reveal, it is packed with secrets. First secret is the way Lily reacts to him. She is like a kid showing a drawing to a parent. Arms up, big surprise energy. She is desperate for praise. Second secret is what the prototype does to Lily's candy cat puppet head. He cuts it off. He silences her. That is brutal, because it shows the prototype does not care about Lily's feelings. He does not care about her friend. He cares about control. If Lily is talking too much, he shuts it down. And Lily gets upset like a child, arms crossed, pouting. That is such a strange image. A giant killer doll acting like a grounded kid in front of a monster god. But it fits, because Lily is not mentally stable. She is trapped in a child role, and the prototype uses that. Third secret is what the prototype says about the orphans. Poppy asks where the orphans are. She is still trying to save them, or maybe end everything, depending on how you read her goal. But she wants to know, and the prototype says they are in a better place. Now that line is the biggest open loop in the entire ending. What is the better place? Is it death? Is it a literal location deep in the factory where the orphans are stored? Is it some kind of sleep state, like what we saw with Playcare? Is it a digital thing, like a backup, like an upload? Chapter 5 does not answer directly, but it gives clues. If the prototype wanted Poppy to stop fighting him, he could just say, "They are dead." But he uses soft words. Better place. That sounds like how people talk to kids about death. That makes it feel like he killed them. But it could also be a real place. Because the factory has lower areas, it has deeper labs, it has hidden wings, and Chapter 5 ends in the data center, which suggests the factory has entire systems we have not fully explored. So the better place might be a location, and if it is a location, then Poppy's mission becomes even more urgent, because it means the orphans might still exist, trapped, waiting. Fourth secret is, what happens to Poppy's face? During the confrontation, the prototype damages Poppy. It happens fast, and it is one of the most shocking moments in the chapter, because Poppy is one of the main characters, and seeing her hurt like that makes everything feel more real. Then the prototype looks at his own fingers, like he is thinking about his strength, like he almost surprised himself. That tiny detail is important, because it shows the prototype is not a mindless beast. He thinks, he plans, he reflects, and then he turns to you, and he threatens you. He says he could turn you wrong side out. That line connects back to the Automals, to the word judge, to the whole punishment theme. He is basically saying, you are not just someone I can kill, you are someone I can turn into an example. And right when Lily tries to grab Poppy, the prototype knocks Lily aside, and it accidentally frees you and Kissy from the hair restraints. Kissy attacks the prototype, and the prototype leaves. That moment is another secret, because it reveals something about the prototype's priorities. If he wanted to kill you right there, he could have tried harder. He is powerful. He is huge. He has the advantage. But he leaves. Why? Maybe because he got what he came for. A message to Poppy. A punishment. A reminder. Maybe because he does not want to fully fight yet. Not until he is sure. Or maybe because he is dealing with something else bigger, like protecting the better place, or handling the rebellion inside his ranks. Either way, he leaves, and that gives you a chance to escape. Except Lily is not done. Now Lily chases you through her mansion screaming that it is your fault, that you ruined her party, that you will go in the bad toy box. And this chase is also full of secrets. Because you run up to the attic, then onto the roof area, and you see fake clouds hanging from the ceiling of Sweet Street. It is like a kid's sky decoration turned into a death trap. And you use the pressure hand to break a cloud platform. Lily stands on it. It drops. She falls. Then the platform falls on her. Lily dies. But here is the secret detail. Even after she is crushed, parts of her hair are still visible. And if you know that creepy hair keeps growing after death myth, the game even hints at it with Lily's own cutouts. The idea is basically planted in your head. So even though Lily is dead, the chapter leaves a door open. Not in a cheap, she will jump scare you later way, but in a parts of her could still be a problem way. Because in this world, you can kill the body and still leave something behind. Now you finally get out of Sweet Street and regroup. Giblet is back, Poppy is hurt, Kissy is with you, carrying Poppy because she only has one arm. And now, the story becomes a race. Giblet's plan is desperate. He wants to reach the data center and access a backup. He believes the backup has something that can be used to stop the prototype. And this is where the chapter starts throwing secrets at you faster, because the pacing speeds up toward the ending. You travel back through lab areas, toward a tram or train system. You solve puzzles using the new hands. You use Globy to find hidden code hints. You use the conductive hand in different charge modes to clear obstacles. And this is where Chapter 5 shows one of its smartest gameplay story matches. You keep switching hands. Pressure, conductive, magnetic tools, black light. It feels like you are building a toolkit to survive the deepest part of the factory. But story-wise, it also feels like you are slowly turning into something the factory can no longer predict, because the prototype's control depends on knowing what you can do. If you gain new tools he did not plan for, you become a real threat. Now, as you move toward the train station, Huggy returns again, another chase, another panic moment. But then the chapter does the emotional twist. You reach the station, and you see Kissy with Huggy, and she calms him down. That is one of the most powerful scenes in the chapter, because it reframes Huggy completely. He is not just a monster. He is not just security. He is a toy that remembers something. The projections earlier distracted him, but this is different. This is real. Kissy is right there. And Huggy reacts like a creature that recognizes family, comfort, love, whatever you want to call it. And that is when the prototype shows up again. And this is where we get the ending moment that makes people angry, sad, and confused all at once. The prototype impales Huggy and Kissy. It happens fast, brutal. No long fight, no heroic speech, just spike through body. And this is where the title of your other video idea suddenly connects. Why did the prototype kill Huggy? Chapter 5 gives you the best answer we have so far, and it is not just because Huggy failed. It is because Huggy changed. Huggy started the chapter as a hunter, a threat, a guard dog chasing you down. But the more the chapter goes on, the more Huggy becomes unstable, the more he is pulled by memories, the more he is distracted by Kissy, the more he stops acting like a weapon and starts acting like a person. That is dangerous to the prototype, because the prototype does not want free minds. He wants tools, followers, fear. A toy that remembers love is a toy that might disobey. And even worse, Huggy is big, strong, fast. He is one of the biggest threats in the factory if he ever turns against the prototype. So the prototype does what rulers always do to strong soldiers who start thinking for themselves. He removes them. He also sends a message, because killing Huggy in front of you and Kissy is not only about stopping Huggy, it is about breaking hope. If Kissy can calm Huggy, that means bonds can beat control, and the prototype cannot allow that idea to spread, so he kills them, or at least tries to. The game leaves their final fate a little uncertain, because in this series, impaled is not always dead forever. But either way, the prototype is making it clear. Nobody is safe from him, not even the monsters you fear. Then he throws you onto the tracks, and now you are the target. You run. You jump onto the train. Giblet and Poppy are trying to get the train moving. The prototype is chasing you from behind like a nightmare that cannot be slowed down. And this train section is packed with quiet secrets too, because it shows the prototype is not slow, not stuck in one place. He can move, he can chase, he can hunt like a spider, and it shows he is focused on you now, not just Poppy. Why? Because you are the one who has been killing his assets. You are the one who has been stealing tools. You are the one helping rebels like Giblet. You are becoming the one thing the prototype cannot fully control. So the group makes the most extreme choice possible. They crash the train. They think it might kill the prototype. They jump off. The train wreck happens. And for a split second you might think, that is it, we did it. But no, the prototype survives. And this is where Chapter 5 becomes pure nightmare again. He catches you. He stabs you. He wounds you badly. And then he does something that feels almost symbolic. He throws you into a vat of Poppy Gel. This is why I said earlier that Poppy Gel is not just puzzle goo, it is a story weapon. Because when you sink into the gel, everything becomes slow, heavy, quiet, and you hear Poppy's voice, like a hallucination, echoing words that feel connected to the very start of the whole game, like your return to the factory was always part of something planned. You black out, and the screen gives you a message. We still need you. Get up. That line is chilling because it sounds like the factory itself is talking, or like the prototype is talking, or like someone else is watching. And then Giblet brings you back. He uses his electric weapon, his cane or bat, to revive you. And he tells you the prototype took Poppy. This is another big secret. The prototype could have killed Poppy. He damaged her face earlier. He proved he can hurt her. He proved he can overpower her. So why take her? Because Poppy matters to him. We still do not know the full reason yet, but Chapter 5 screams that there is a relationship between Poppy and the prototype that is deeper than enemy. Maybe she was part of the original plan. Maybe she helped start the Hour of Joy and later regretted it. Maybe she knows something about the better place. Maybe she has access, knowledge, or control systems that the prototype needs. Or maybe, in the most twisted way, he sees her as family, as a special toy, as the favorite. Even Lily calls Poppy that, the favorite. So taking Poppy is not random, it is strategic. And it sets up Chapter 6 as a rescue mission, whether you want it to be or not. Now the final part of Chapter 5 is where the all secrets part really kicks in, because the last reveal is not only about the prototype, it is about the factory's hidden plan for survival. The data center. You and Giblet make it there, and you activate the backup system. Giblet believes the backup holds data that can help stop the prototype. And then you see what the backup really is. It is not just files. It is a person. Harley Sawyer, the Doctor. The villain from Chapter 4, back in a new form. He speaks through the backup. His consciousness is there, preserved. And he says something like, well now, this is a rather interesting turn of events. And that is the cliffhanger. Now here is where we need to explain the ending, because this is where a lot of people get confused. First, what is the backup? It appears to be a stored copy of Harley Sawyer's mind, a digital version, a saved him. Not his body, but his brain pattern, his personality, his voice, his thought. That idea is not random in this world, because we already saw neural mapping machines. We already saw memory collection. We already saw minds being used like keys. So if Playtime Co. could map minds, they could also store one. Second, why would Harley Sawyer have a backup? Because Harley Sawyer is the kind of person who always has a plan. In Chapter 4, we learned he was deeply involved in the bigger body's work. He knew the horrors. He helped build them. He understood the prototype better than most. So it makes sense that he would set up a just-in-case-I-die system. Or maybe Leith Pierre set it up. Maybe the company set it up. Maybe the backup system was made for important staff, like an emergency brain save. Third, why is this dangerous? Because Harley Sawyer is not your friend. He might help you because it benefits him. He might pretend. He might guide you into traps. He might try to take control of systems again. And there is one extra weird detail fans bring up. A backup should only know what happened up to the moment it was made. But Harley's backup seems very aware, almost like he knows too much. So either the backup was updated later than we think, or the system is not a normal backup, or something else is going on. And that is the true ending secret of Chapter 5. The factory does not just store toys. It stores people. It stores minds. It stores control. So now the big question becomes, what happens next? And that brings us to the final secrets and theories section, where we zoom out and connect Chapter 5 to the full story from Chapter 1 to Chapter 5. Because Chapter 5 is not just a chapter, it is a bridge. Let's talk about the prototype's pattern across the whole series. In Chapter 2, we saw the prototype's hand collect Mommy Longlegs after she died. That was the first clear sign that something was harvesting bodies. In Chapter 3, the story focused on Playcare, the orphans, and Catnap, who acted like a worshiper for the prototype. That chapter pushed the idea that the prototype is seen like a god to some experiments. In Chapter 4, the Doctor and the deeper prisons showed how big the system is. It showed how the factory is built like layers, and how the prototype has influence everywhere. It also introduced the idea that some dead characters might come back, and that the factory has hidden technology beyond what we have seen. Then, Chapter 5 brings it all together. It confirms the prototype is not just an arm in the dark. It confirms he has a social structure of followers and punished outcasts. It confirms he uses wrong side out as a threat and maybe as a real method. It confirms the company had mind mapping and mind storage systems. It confirms the orphans are the center of everything. And it confirms Poppy is not just a random doll. She is a key piece in the prototype's world. Now let's go back and list the biggest secrets in the sense of hidden story meaning, not just hidden items. One of the biggest secrets is that Chapter 5 shows the prototype does not need constant physical presence to control everything. He controls through systems, light and dark, memory and conditioning, fear and hunger, rewards and punishments. The wrong side Automals are proof of punishment. Braun is proof of hunger. Lily is proof of isolation and control. Huggy's memories are proof of brain shaping. The backup is proof of mind storage. So, even when the prototype is not in the room, his rules are. That is why the Automals say, "There is no above." That line sounds like a creature that has been trapped so long that the idea of outside world is fake. Because for them, the prototype's world is the only world. Another huge secret is that Chapter 5 keeps showing mirrors of the same idea. The conditioning rooms teach Huggy to freeze when music stops. Lily forces you to freeze when humming stops. The factory uses projections of Kissy to control Huggy. The prototype uses real Kissy's presence to break Huggy by killing her in front of him. Giblet calls you the Playtime butcher, which is what you look like to the toys. The prototype calls you a thing he can flip wrong side out, which is what you look like to him. Everything is about perspective, and the chapter keeps reminding you that you are not the main character in the eyes of everyone else. You are an object, a threat, a tool. Now let's talk about the collectible secrets for a minute, because Chapter 5 is full of them, and some of them matter more than people think. There are multiple wrong-side Automall collectible toys you can find. Their names are weird and playful, but they fit the theme. A cute name covering something gross. Stuff like Blanky Blanks, Bindle Boogie, and other silly names that sound like a kid show. Why does that matter? Because it shows how Playtime Co. tried to sell darkness as cute. They always do this. Even Catnap was cute in marketing. Even smiling critters were cute in marketing. But underneath, it is horror. So the wrong side Automals are basically the purest symbol of Playtime Co.'s brand lie. Cute outside, inside out. There are also secret room codes and UV hints all over Chapter 5, like codes hidden on boards, hidden on shelves, hidden in places you only see if you use Globy the right way. The chapter is almost training players to stop rushing and start looking. And that is not only for gameplay, it is for lore. Because Poppy Playtime has always been a story where the truth is not in the loudest moment. It is in the small details, the notes, the tapes, the background. Like the fact that Lily is not just a new villain, she is a piece of the moral story. She is a punishment for past crimes, a twisted karma story inside the factory. Like the fact that Braun is not a boss fight, because the game wants you to feel sad, not proud. Like the fact that Huggy's memories show Kissy as a comfort, which makes the prototype's impalement scene hit harder. Now, if we want to explain the ending in the simplest way possible, here it is. The group tries to reach a backup system that might contain info to defeat the prototype. They fail to stop him. He kills or nearly kills Huggy and Kissy. He takes Poppy. He almost kills you by throwing you into Poppy Gel. Giblet saves you. You reach the data center anyway. You activate the backup. And you accidentally wake up Harley Sawyer's stored mind. So the ending explained part is not only about the prototype escaping again. It is about you opening a door you might regret. Because now, you have a new problem. Even if the backup can help, you have brought back a dangerous mind. A mind that knows the factory. A mind that might know secrets about the prototype. A mind that might also be as evil as the prototype, just in a different way. So Chapter 6 is set up to be the real payoff chapter. Rescue Poppy. Find the better place. Face the prototype again, but this time with more knowledge. And decide what to do with Harley Sawyer's backup. Now I want to end with the biggest final secret, the one I hinted at in the beginning. Why is the star tool, Globy, so important? Because Globy is not just a flashlight, it is a symbol of truth. In Chapter 5, the prototype's power is built on hidden things, hidden rooms, hidden memories, hidden crimes, hidden hunger, hidden punishments. And the only way to fight that is to expose it, to shine light, to make what is hidden visible. That is why light scares off the wrong side creatures. That is why UV reveals the codes. That is why the biggest "we still need you" message shows up when you are sinking into darkness. The factory is trying to pull you down into the dark, where you cannot see what is real. And Chapter 5 hands you a star and basically says, no, look anyway. So yeah, Chapter 5 answers a lot, but it also sets the real trap. Because now you know the prototype is real. Now you know he can be beaten back, but not killed easily. Now you know he has a better place. Now you know the factory stores mines. Now you know Harley Sawyer is back in some form. And now you have to ask the scariest question of all. What if the only way to beat the prototype is to become something just as bad as him? And what if the game has been pushing you toward that choice from the start? Because if the toys see you as the Playtime butcher, and the prototype sees you as a future wrong side experiment, then the line between human and monster is getting thinner with every chapter. If you want, in the next video, we can go even deeper into one specific mystery, like what the better place could really be, or why Poppy might be the prototype's favorite, or what Harley Sawyer's backup means for the endgame. Click here to watch next.